What is up, everyone? It is Friday. The weekend has officially started, and you're very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda, where it feels like Groundhog Day a little bit, doesn't it? Be honest. You're allowed to be honest in here. So, how are we all doing? Did we watch the interview with David Lynch earlier? I always find some humour in the comments under the videos, like David is the club in some people's eyes. I always find that funny. People think, oh, covering up for FSG. No. David's just being honest and talking about what he's heard and what he hasn't heard. And it isn't the prettiest of pictures at the minute out there in Liverpool transfer land, is it? And we are now 7 days away from the window slamming shut. Whereas, as of right now, we're staring down the barrel of not a single goddamn signing coming through the door that will help us out this season. So, we're going to try and pick through the bones of it as always tonight. And yeah, let us know your thoughts along the way. So, buy someone you stingy gits. I'm on board with that, mate. That's definitely my way of thinking. Look, me and David disagree on one thing. I don't know if we actually talked about it on screen or off screen. So I said to David, I'm just really annoyed about the owners not, backing the manager and spending the money. And David's views were that it's more on Edwards and Hughes. They're given the scope to make these decisions. And if we don't make a signing, it'll be because Edwards and Hughes don't deem there to be acceptable signings or correct signings out there, and I just don't accept. Look, to me it doesn't really matter. FSG, Edwards, Hughes, failure is failure. If we don't strengthen in this window and expect to actually dream about challenging for the league this year, I think we're being foolish. It's madness, absolute madness. I'm extremely angry at the owners right now, as I'm sure you're well aware. And I hate this as well, that we're sitting here now and we're all angry, and we are, let's be honest. Even the most rational, calm, chilled out person has got to be feeling disappointed with this window. And for me, the buck stops with the owners. They put people in place, and if these people are incapable or too stubborn to make any decisions with regards to strengthening the squad, then that's on them. We did get a league title worth of funds for this window, which is like winning the league. Would like a trophy and money to build a club. Yeah, look, it feels like somebody suggested to me last night that maybe this is the owner's way of recouping that 90 million net spend that we had last summer, and I certainly hope that isn't the case. But as we sit here right now, my friends, it is still nothing, and it's looking slim pickings as well with regards to possibilities. If you're looking at the bookies, Branthwaite and Gordon are the two that the money's gone on, but I think that looks pretty far-fetched at this moment in time. It is Groundhog Day, and I hate to say I told you so all summer, but, those people who continue to give the club, the owners, whoever you want to blame, whoever you want to give the benefit of the doubt to, surely that's gone at this point. 1 week to go and not a damn thing done. And look, I know, it's not easy. It's not nice for us all to come in here and moan. But you need to vent. I need to vent. And right now, I am somewhere between extreme anger and extreme frustration. Somewhere in between that, if there is any difference between the two. Ricky said, I'm not angry. I'm having a great time. I'd say losing to Brighton tomorrow morning will bring me back down to earth. Ricky, of course, a Manchester United fan. There's some difficult games coming up this weekend. I mean, Arsenal have an interesting game against Villa as well. Yeah, look, mate, for us, I just want us to pick up the win and then look ahead to playing you guys next Sunday before the international break. And that's right, there is already an international break on the horizon. We play Brentford on Sunday, we play United the following Sunday, and then we're on break. It's mad. Only into the season, 3 games, and there's already an international break, followed by another international break in October, followed by, guess what, another international break in November. Why are we not going for Bakayoko, said Nicholas Harrison. Nicholas, your guess is as good as mine as to why we're not going for half the people that we've been linked with, mate, in this window. Here's what I can't get my head around. That we brought in Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, Julian Ward. We have the recruitment team that we have. We've spent a long time assessing the squad and looking at the market. And the best we could come up with was failing to sign Zubamendi. Now, that to me feels like someone's not doing their job, or they're just being, and I know that this probably sounds a little bit mad, but overly picky. Like, we all know that there are players out there that could come in and improve the team. And it definitely feels like the data side of this conversation is far outweighing the old-fashioned scouting, eyes on the ground, feet on the ground scenario where we get a player over the line. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. If the metrics are showing that nobody in world football can come in, then we need better metrics, because I fail to see how not strengthening going into the season is doing us any good. It's rolling the dice on no injuries. Now remember, we could still lose Joe Gomez before the window closes. That is a distinct possibility. So we could end up, hypothetically, in a situation where we have Kanade, Kwanzaa and Van Dijk, and that's it. That's all she wrote with regards to centre-backs. Now let that sit in, because already we've seen Kwanzaa pick up a knock this week that's kept him out of a day's training. Might not keep him out of the matchday squad at the weekend, but it's enough to keep him out of a day's training. And this is week 2. So, I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to lose... Well, no, I'm not losing faith in those who run the club. I've never really had faith in those who run the club, but this just stinks of a lack of ambition. And I get it. There will be people who are going to be writing about the belief in the data, belief in the analysis, belief in doing things the right way, talk of a brighter future down the line, yada, yada, yada. But come on now. How many times do we have to fall for the same crap before we finally understand that these owners just don't give a damn? If injuries happen, we're fecked, Craig. We're screwed. Absolutely, Sean. It's not even debatable. You know, and here we looked through the wages earlier on, actually, because we're trying to find out the earners at the club. And we're trying to figure out, you know, are we really turning over that much money on wages? And here's what we've come up with. So, with the numbers out there, Liverpool Football Club have an annual payroll of £125.5 million. So £125.5 million is the annual payroll for Liverpool. And that averages at about 4,485,000 a player, or 86 grand a week is the average for a player. And the average weekly payroll is 2.4 million. Now, for a club that turns over 550 odd million, how can a payroll of 125 million be causing us problems? It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, I know that there are other things that are above the basic salaries. There are achievable add-ons or achievable bonuses and stuff like that. But those numbers certainly don't paint a picture of a club that are overloaded with high wages. I'm baffled. I'm baffled how anyone falls for it anymore. Our top earners at the club: Mohamed Salah, £350,000 a week. We reckon Virgil van Dijk's on about 220, Trent's on about 180, 200. Robbo reported on about 160, Alisson 150, Gravenberch and McAllister 150. Then you've got Diogo Jota, Darwin Núñez about 140, Gakpo 120, Szoboszlai 120, Gomez 85. And believe it or not, if you look down the list, you're seeing people like Harvey Elliott on 40 grand. Like, these owners are just cheap. There is no other word I can use to describe them other than cheap. Kyle, how are you, my man? Thank you for your super chat. Kyle said, this summer has been a disgrace. How can FSG justify selling all our young prospects and get nobody in? Absolute joke. Love what you do, Craig. Thank you, Kyle. And look, I kind of had a similar view, and still do, about the youngsters, but I guess the answer would be that Liverpool just don't see these guys as ever making it through. Like, speaking with David again, and what I love about chatting with David is we disagree on and off camera about quite a bit with regards to the club, but we always speak to each other in a very courteous, respectful manner, because I think both of us appreciate the other one's perspective. And with regards to the young players being moved on, my whole point is, well, who are we left with? Do you know what I mean? Trainee only, fair enough, an academy product coming through. So if we're not leaning into the academy to really find a pathway through, and we're moving on Bobby Clark and others, then what's the point? Like, everything seems to be just about saving money this summer. And that certainly doesn't benefit us as fans in any way that I'm aware of. What odds of Liverpool bringing in one player this summer? Said Stevie Boy. So, my hand on heart answer to you, after doing my research today, speaking with David, speaking with a couple of other journalists, as we see here now, if I'm putting a number on it, I'm probably 50-50. And I'm not including the goalkeeper in that. Mamardashvili, I think that will happen. We spoke, of course, about Rian Yamoha as well. It looks like that deal will progress. The youngster from Wolves that we've been talking about in the past as well, he's going to come through the door. But right now, let's have a look at Liverpool's squad depth. Anything Liverpool, put up an image going through Liverpool's squad depth. So let me see if you think this is a squad deep enough to go and win the Premier League or the Champions League. So in goal, obviously we have Alisson, Queevy Kelleher and Yaros. So as things stand, no problem with that. At right back, Trent and Connor Bradley. Okay, whilst Joe's around, that's not too shabby. On the left side, we've got Andy Robertson and Costas. Now, those of you who watched the interview with David will know that there's every opportunity that Costas could actually depart before this window closes. And if he does depart, what I feel like we might see is one player brought in to fill the left side as a fullback or the left side as centre-back role. And that isn't good enough. Centre-back positions, we have very little to no depth. We've got Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez on one side, and then we've got Kanade and Kwanzaa on the other. Now, Nat Phillips' name is mentioned there, but that's just because we can't sell him. His contract's up at the end of the year as well, if I'm not wrong. In defensive midfield, Gravenberch and Endo. Now, we already know that the manager doesn't rate Endo. We know that. That's, I don't think, up for debate at the minute. So if Gravenberch's injured, then we're back to being screwed. Or putting McAllister back in so we can shoehorn somebody else ahead of him. Then we've got Jones, McAllister and Leone in midfield and Elliott and Szoboszlai on the other. Ben Doak is the only backup to Mohamed Salah. Ben Doak. And there's every chance that he leaves on loan or on a permanent before the window shuts. On the left, we've got Gakpo and Diaz. And through the centre, we've got Jota, Nunez and Danz, who's currently out with a back injury and won't really be a part of the first team squad. Or wasn't planned to be a part of the first team squad. The plan for him was to go out on loan this season. So that's our squad depth, and it isn't very deep. It's 1 to 2 players covering each position, most of it just one. It's not good enough. They're not going to fool anybody anymore. They're cheap. End of conversation. And I strongly disagree with David with regards to who's to blame. If he thinks, or anybody else believes, that it's the sporting director, I can totally sympathise with that. But I guess my argument back would be, well, who employed them? You know, the buck stops somewhere. And for me, it's the owners that set the tone and the culture at the club. And their absenteeism doesn't go unnoticed by me and many other Liverpool fans. And I don't know how they expect any other reaction from the fan base at this point other than anger, frustration and disappointment at what's been a pathetic window. Will Nunez have a significant role for Slot? I would say so. I think, again, this is just me reading the situation. It looks like he came back late, obviously, as we know, because of the Copa America. He didn't have much time in pre-season to get up to grips with, to get up to speed, I should say, with Arne's system. And Jota's played really well. So I think he will become part of the plans, definitely. But it might be the other side of the international break before we see him starting games. Every chance, of course, he could come off the bench, either on Sunday or against United. But until then, yeah, I feel like it might be a bit part for him until he gets up to speed with what the gaffer wants from him. And also, as well, let's be fair to Diogo Jota. If he's putting the ball in the back of the net and scoring, then, you know, he doesn't deserve to lose his place, does he? So, Callum. Very good question, mate. Let me just bring it up on screen and then I'll ask you. Where's the money, John? Where's the money? We know where it is. It's in the bank account. Because we've done well. Apparently we're able to receive phone calls in this window and sell players, but not very good about buying them or, you know, actually doing the job of strengthening the squad. And I seen Arne Slot's press conference today, and I understand and respect that he has to be upbeat and positive, but nobody's going to convince me that he's not fuming as well at the lack of additions for him in his first season at the job. Matthew. Nope, that was Callum's one I brought up again. Sorry, let me just clear that and bring the other one up. Matthew's one I was trying to bring up. My apologies, Matthew. 1 second, bro. So Matthew said, Why buy a club if you have no ambition to win? See, I think their argument would be, well, they have won. And, you know, we've got to credit that. They have won. But they haven't built a team to be consistently challenging and winning, have they? You know, Jurgen walked away, and now it's a new era, and the new manager's not being backed. Arsenal, again, are looking to do serious business in this window to go and attack the league to win it. Can you say the same about us? Of course you can't. Our owners, absent, don't give a shit, over in Boston. And the excuse will be it was left to Edwards and Hughes. But look, as fans, we don't care. We don't care which one of you shit the bed. It's all the same to us. Because at the end of the day, we know we're going into a season now with limited ambition. If everything goes right, and I mean everything, there's a slim chance we could be there or thereabouts. But again, we're looking for positives that aren't there. Liverpool exists to win trophies, not simply top four. That's it, said Danny. Certainly what I was led to believe growing up, mate. Soren said, hi Craig, just in case nobody's already told you, you're a legend. Thank you, mate. I'm really sore today, Soren, I'll be honest with you. I had physiotherapy yesterday on my jaw, and my whole neck, face and head are really sore today after it. But I appreciate your kind words, mate. I need to pick me up today because honestly, I'm going out of my way to try and not shout and be angry. Because right now, if I'm being really honest with everybody, I'm losing the will to believe. I'm struggling. I'm really, really struggling to stay optimistic ahead of the campaign. And I feel bad about that, but it's my genuine feelings. Went on to say, no signing sure sucks. However, I think Slot is a special manager, and I feel he might compete and challenge on all fronts without. Not ideal, though. Yeah. And look, I agree with you on the manager, mate. I really, really like Arne, and I really want him to succeed. I think he gave James Pearce a bit of a tough one today as well, didn't he? I think he went in on him over how old he looked or something. I'm just glad I'm not on them press conferences because he certainly does feel a little bit prickly at times, Mr. Slot. But I like him, like you. And I guess I can understand people saying, well, we may do well and stuff. But I guess the argument back would be, if we all believe in him and if we do think he's going to do a good job, then surely by strengthening it only increases the chances of success. Now, here's what you're going to hear. Here's what you're going to hear. Before I get to Jack's Super Chat, here's what you're going to hear. Over the next week to 10 days, you're going to hear this. You're going to hear that they won't be rushed. They won't make a signing just for the sake of it. They're going to remove all the outside noise and just pay attention to what they do. And there will be a promise of investment and signings down the line. That's what's going to happen over the next week to 10 days. Up to you if you want to believe it or not. You know, I've been here, seen it, heard it, don't care about it, get it done or fuck off. It's as simple as that for me. That is where I'm at. Do your job or go. If you don't have the ambition to win, then sell up, take all of the cash that you will have made and depart. Honestly, it's getting to that point with me. We don't want to be a club that's just treading water and trying to just scrape into the top four so John can get that Champions League revenue every year. We want to win. We want to win. Jack, how are you, mate? Let me get your comment up. I'm listening as per my normal daily routine. However, my missus is getting annoyed with me listening to football related stuff. Can you say hello to Gemma and tell her to leave me alone? Gemma, I get it. I'm annoying. My missus is sick of listening to me as well. But it's a critical time of the year, Gemma. So let Jack just give him a pass for a week or two. And then when the season starts and we're back on the way properly, you know, we're in the swing of it, the anger will be less. It's just now, Gemma, it's a particularly tough time for us Liverpool fans, and it's not being helped by the fact that the owners are useless. Danny, my friend, how are you? Lovely to see you in as always. Said, Craig, you're a legend. I hope you're well. I've added in the legend part there because it absolutely wasn't there, but okay. You've said, Craig, good evening, hope you're well. So that's good enough. I've got to fear the second Hughes said we're looking to be opportunistic in this window, but to get nobody is just not good enough. Absolutely. If you go back to my content around that time as well, mate, I said the very same thing. This opportunistic talk puts the shivers up me because it doesn't fill you full of confidence, does it? You know, opportunistic means cheap in my eyes. Send him by Chechich on loan is a mistake, said Harry. I was excited to see what Thiago could teach him. Heard he's looking well. Endo, Jones, Ryan, Maka can't play every game. I actually disagree on this one, Harry. I think loaning Stefan Bajcetic is the right way to go. I would hope that whatever the loan is, that there is an option for Liverpool, if indeed he does go on loan, to recall him if we had an injury crisis. But the priority right now for Stefan is to make sure that he gets minutes into his legs, he gets back into the rigours of a long campaign, and I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity at Liverpool. So yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from. I mean, we've already got a thin squad. Thinning it out even more, I can see the side you're coming at, but for me, I think it's the right choice for him to get minutes. But I'd rather we did this from a position where we already have somebody in and we don't have to talk about fear, you know. I think all of us now are thinking, well, what if this happens or that happens? Because we know we're going to pick up injuries and knocks. Like, imagine going into a season if we sell Gomez with Kanade, Kwanzaa and Van Dijk. One of them, 33, and again is going to need to be rotated. One of them, a youngster who's still learning his trade and finding his way. And the other one, a very good, promising centre-back in Ibu, but has had plenty of muscle knocks and strains. I don't understand how you can go into a season even thinking we could get through it with even 4 centre-backs. To me isn't enough. I know that might sound mad to some people, but I think 4, including Gomez, who is very rarely utilised in central defence anymore, is again a stretch. So right now, as I said, I'm losing the will. I'm losing the ability to dream, and that annoys me as a football fan. It really annoys me, because you should be given a new chance to dream every season. When the season kicks off, any football fan, no matter how unrealistic we are, we should be able to dream. It's very hard to feel like a dreamer at the minute when the club are doing nothing, but that's okay to some. I'm baffled by it. I'm also baffled by the journalists who wrote what they wrote all year, or all window, and then nothing. You know, and like, that's okay as well, which is weird. Craig, will FSG be forced into a panic buy? Well, no, probably not, mate. Not according to what we're seeing written in the media. You know, the keeping out the outside noise, blah, blah, blah. Suman said we have enough players to cover for each position. Yeah, you don't believe that, mate. I mean, you're writing that to bait me. You don't even believe that. I refuse to believe you're that stupid, mate. So, you know, you're entitled to your own views. I don't think that's a sincere view, because anybody who remembers our last 3 or 4 league campaigns cannot think that we have enough bodies to go into this campaign. I'm sorry. I don't believe that's a sincere post. We need 2 right backs, 2 left backs, 4 centre backs. That's 8 defenders. When you say we need to buy, if that's a buying list, I don't think so. We need 1 centre back as of now with Joe at the club, and a left back if Costas moves on. I think that's on top of the central midfielder. Look, I would have taken a central midfielder and a centre back in this window with no more outgoings. But to have done nothing other than make us lose face again publicly over Zubamendi is just... It's just bullshit. I'm sorry again, but it is just that. I hope you're well. As a United fan, who do you think are worse, FSG or the Glazers? Without any doubt, the Glazers. Look, I have my problems with FSG, and they are many, and I will be vocal about them. But I wouldn't put them in the same category as the Glazers. But then again, say what you want about the Glazers, and there are many, 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 many reasons to be critical of them. They've always given their managers money to spend. Now, that money hasn't been spent well a lot of the time, but at least they've given them the opportunities to do improvements. We just get the geek squad who are so pig-headed that it's their perfect number 1 target who ticks every box, or tough shit, you're going into the season with what you have, make do. So I guess the ideal owners are somewhere in the middle there. And that's what really frustrates me most about FSG. It's most of the stuff most of us are alright with, or at least will put up with. But the lack of support in the transfer market in a pivotal point where we're changing managers, where the whole world expects Arne Slot to be the sacrificial lamb, make a point of backing him. Make a point of showing you're serious owners and that you want to win. And they're not doing that. So, as much as I'm critical of the Glazers and I understand United fans' anger, I would kill as a Liverpool fan to see our managers given that much money to spend. Soren, how are you, my friend? Said, what is this thing with Ryan not training with the rest of the squad? Is he injured? I don't know. He could be doing some specialist training, I guess. He could be working on stuff in the gym. I really don't know. I've certainly not heard anything to suggest he's injured. David was at today's press conference, and as you've seen, we spoke to him a few hours afterwards, and other than some of the embargoed stuff that will be coming out a bit later on, it's not looking great for signings. I can't lie to you. The impression that I got is at this point something will have to tempt us into the market rather than us looking to go and attack the market for the remaining week. So I guess that opportunistic word kind of comes up again. It's okay if we sell Gomez. We have Phillips as our fourth choice and then look and play centre back. Yeah, so Phillips is out of contract in 11 months or 10 months. He's nowhere near good enough to play for Liverpool's first team on a regular basis. Nobody wants to buy him, and I'm supposed to believe that he's good enough to come in and provide cover. Wataru Endo, the manager just does not fancy. He told him as much. He hasn't been anywhere near starting. So, again, revisionism and trying to make out that we have a deep enough squad, I think, is genuinely insincere. That's the friendliest and kindest way I can be about it. I feel you're being disingenuous with that, or very naive. What's this embargo stuff? So there's always embargoed stuff in press conferences that can't come out until later that night for the next day. So the embargoed stuff, if there is anything important to it, will come out at about 10, 10:30. But I'm not getting the impression there's anything super duper in there that we're going to be pleasantly surprised with. Oh, and also, the club have brought on a new betting partner. Make of that what you will. So, Liverpool have announced a new multi-year partnership with Ladbrokes that will see the bookmaker become the club's official betting partner in the UK and Ireland. If I'm being entirely honest, and I say this as somebody who likes a bet, I don't think the club should have an official betting partner. I don't think in this day and age it's the greatest look for the football club. I used to do some stuff with betting companies on the channel, but as you can see, you haven't seen any for a long time, and that's a conscious decision. I've listened to my community. Some people feel strongly in favour, some people feel strongly against, so for me it's not worth the headache. But the club certainly feel like it's going to be worth their while. But to us as fans, what good are these Husqvarna, Lucasade, Ladbrokes? What good are any of these partnerships if we're not seeing the benefit of it on the pitch? And we're not. CH says, alright Craig, I think we're feeling the frustration again. Time for banners to be flown over the stadium. They can keep going on. So, I want to ask you a question. I'm not on Twitter or any of the social platforms. What's the feeling, genuinely, online at the moment amongst Liverpool fans about the transfer window? Are some people still projecting an air of caution, or are people angry? Because I feel like people have the right to be angry, but, there's a reason I stay away from social media. It's because it can be extremely toxic at times. There was one bit of confirmation today. Liverpool have completed a deal to sign Wolverhampton Wanderers teenager Alvin Ayman. There you go. That's one deal over the line, apparently. And then Rion Yamoha looks like that's going ahead as well. Most people are pissed, some top Reds. See, this top Reds thingy, right? I don't know if these are real people. I was thinking about this last night. Do you not find that most of the, what we would call top Reds, and I remember from my time on Twitter, are usually faceless, vague accounts who don't really show the world who they are? So I don't know if top Reds exist in the real world, or they're just an online group who are trying to be contrarian. And I'm saying that politely. I mean, I could argue another argument that it could be, paid endorsement. But I just don't know how anybody, regardless of whether you're born in Liverpool or born in Australia, Ireland, America, I don't know how anybody that loves the club can look at this transfer window and not feel let down again by the owners. So the top Reds, I would honestly question if they're real, if they genuinely exist, or if they're just characters who are on social media. Because in the real world, I've not really met any. Benjamin said, the feeling is 50-50. There's a lot of sheep who are drinking the Kool-Aid, just hoping we do very well with the current squad. So I found, in my experience on the few platforms that I am on, there's a lot of sympathy from the American Liverpool fans towards the owners. Not because of nationality or anything like that, but I think because of the business aspect of things being safe. Maybe this is because of the way American sports teams are. I don't know. But I've noticed a huge cultural difference there between the thought processes of our American supporting friends and us. And it certainly feels like they're more sympathetic to no business than, say, the likes of me. Now again, of course, I don't want to tar everyone with the same brush, but I do feel like that's the only segment of people, other than the top Reds, that I've really seen stand up for the ownership. And those that are 50-50, or as our friend Benjamin said, 50-50, one or two losses, mate, and you'll see that 50-50 go out the window very quickly. We've got off to winning ways, and that's papering over the cracks a bit. But when those cracks start to show, and they will, you won't be able to move for FSG outtrending again. These people are short-sighted. And again, delusional in my opinion. Although they probably say the same about me. I understand some people love FSG, but the fact that some people can't criticise them for the useless transfer window is hilarious. Bordering on bootlicking. Top Reds are asshats that punch down on all of us. They definitely do punch down if you let them. But here's the thing, Nick. I never let them, because I don't view them as being above me or below me. Same as everybody else in the Liverpool family. If somebody shows and treats me with respect, I'll show it back to them. If somebody starts to try to punch down at me, then they'll very quickly figure out that isn't an avenue that's going to work out well. And I mean that metaphorically, of course. But I don't get it. Like, what do they think an acceptable, successful season is? Because truly, as I said, I find it hard to believe that anyone looks at the squad right now and feels like that's a squad capable of going and doing serious business. So there was some talk about Kvaratskhelia, which is nonsense from what I'm aware of as well, just in case you're wondering about that. Football Insider, I think it was, maybe Pete O'Rourke, said that Liverpool are interested in Kvicha Kvaratskhelia. From my understanding, that's absolutely not the case. As I said, I think it was in the video with David, he said that he did text somebody at Liverpool Football Club. He got a 3-word answer about Kvaratskhelia, and the answer was nah. That's your answer. Acentino said, I am frustrated, however, this is a new coach who needs his players. They're getting rid of Klopp's players. I'll be angry in a week. My feelings. I mean, there could be something to the getting rid of Klopp's players part, mate. But I would have said to you that the manager's had enough time to assess and tell the areas he wanted strengthening in. And then it's over to Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards to make it happen. So there's no part of me that believes Arne Slot hasn't told him the areas of the squad he thinks need attention. So I guess whichever way it falls, mate, it's failed. And that's what makes me angry. I don't really want to aim my anger at any single person. It's just a failure at the club. And to me, the fish rots from the head down. So I always look to the owners. I always find them culpable, because if all goes well, it's the owners again that are going to benefit financially. If all goes poor, it's the owners who will have to answer financially. So ultimately, they put these people in their jobs. And nobody at any point, when they were given their jobs, told us, the fan base, or briefed any journalist that Liverpool won't be able to do business in this window because we wouldn't have had time to assess. Everybody was believing that 2 to 3 signings were coming in. Everybody was believing that Liverpool knew what they needed to do, they were taking their time, and that they would act when the time was right. Well, we're 7 days left till the end of the window now, and there's no action. When it comes to football, Craig, I'd love to know why people love FSG. I can say it with certainty that without Klopp we would be Spurs, well run, but with the sporting aspect poor. I would agree with that, mate. I would absolutely agree with that. I don't understand how they don't see this how we do. That City are potentially weaker this season. Arsenal smell the blood in the water and are trying to get to that next step. And we already feel like we've given up on the idea of challenging, and that we're happy to just be 3rd or 4th. I don't, there's nothing else I can add. Honestly, at this point, I'm just like a broken record at times. I'm just angry. Really, really, really angry, Benjamin. A draw at home and a loss to United, there will be more of an uproar. Personally, I'd love 6 points from the next 2 games. Pretty annoyed with FSG at the minute, said Mike. Look, when it comes to the pitch, mate, we always want the team to win, you know, and I certainly would never want to lose games just so I can say I told you so, ratting like that. But again, we know what's going to happen over the course of the season. We know we're going to pick up injuries. It is a formality. And we're not prepared. We're just not prepared. For FSG, the club is a company, nothing else, said Matthew. Again, that's probably right, mate. But then you shouldn't be involved in sport, should you? You know, if it's viewed as just a company. You know, sport usually is driven by people who want to win. Whether that's for bragging rights with their billionaire mates or whatever. With these owners, I swear to God, all I feel is they see 1s and 0s in front of them. That's it. Cold, heartless, horrible bastards. That's how I feel about them. Just an investment, as you said. And to us, football isn't an investment. Football isn't a small afterthought. It is the best of everything else in life. It is the thing that gives us belief, hope. And they're dampening that. And that makes me, as a fan, angry. Ronnie said, one of the best run clubs in the country, talking shy, Craig. Yeah, that's it, mate. I can't wait till we win the accountancy award at the end of the year. Because when you grew up in your little Ronnie land of gobshite, did you really dream about having the best run club in the world, Ronnie, you fucking gobshite? Or did you dream about winning? I would imagine when you were kicking the ball around with your mate, if you had any, Ronnie, that you were dreaming about winning FA Cup finals. Not going up there to get the trophy and talking about how well run the club is and that John W. Henry's a very clever boy. You're baiting me, Ronnie. I get it. It's either that or you're extremely, extremely, extremely dumb. You can decide which one, mate. But again, I might be talking shy. That's okay. But have you not noticed there's a lot more people that are agreeing with what I'm talking about, mate? So you go and wank off to the accounts of the club. I'll sit here and talk about actually winning fucking trophies and trying to be successful. But people like yourself, mate, will allow this shit to carry on. And people like me will be the ones putting the hard yards in, while the rest of you sit in the sidelines and think you can shit on the rest of us. Again, EA Cot, thank you, mate, for your super chat. Appreciate your support. Honestly, you have to understand American owners. They don't communicate much. They hire GMS or general managers to do the work. It's the model we have in the States. That's okay, but it's an English football club. The culture is different. So I understand that there's stuff that can be learned from both sides. But I don't have to accept absent owners, Santino. I don't have to accept the model in the States. I can have my own viewpoint on it as well, which is that I don't want them having their closed shop where they can just continuously make money and not have to worry about putting out a poor team. I don't want to or have to accept that they're trying to Americanize the English Premier League. So my view on it is that we have a culture, a way that we want to go about things, a history of winning and success, and that they're there to sign the checks and shut the fuck up. I shouldn't even know who Tom Werner is. I don't look people like that lad Ronnie. I see you guys in the chat replying. They're just there to bait. That's all they're there for. He's probably sitting at home now in his little fucking rabbit hole or wherever he is, happy that he got a rise out of us, and that's probably the extent of his weekend's happiness. Have at it. But you don't get to moan them when we start losing. Anybody who's defending the owners doesn't get to come out and have a crack at the rest of us when the wheels start falling off, or doesn't get to say that they want Arne Slot out. You don't get to do that because you weren't willing to put in the fucking hard yards when it needed to be done. When the voiceless needed to be given a voice, you guys were on the sidelines, towing the company line, drinking the Kool-Aid, while the rest of us were out there putting our faces out in front of the camera, making sure that we speak up for the misgivings and the unacceptable lack of spending that we see. But hey, maybe that's just me. Anthony said, who'd be your pick for 3 blitz signings? Antonio Silva, Ederson, Gordon, probably. As unrealistic as some of them are, I mean, they're the honest answers. I'd love Branthwaite as well, but I just don't see that as being possible. EA Cot said, this window is getting me mad, ruining my day, FSG out. It's more than ruining my day, mate. It's driving me to lose sleep. I'm so annoyed about it. Pitch Invader said, Salah, Van Dijk, Alisson 2018, the last good window we had. The last time the club went for the kill and we won the Champions League and the Premier League back to back. And where did that money come from, though? Remember, the Coutinho money paid for a large part of that. And that's the funny part is, even if we are supposed to be sell to buy, well, we've done the selling part of that this summer. We've brought in 70 to 90 million quid. So to have done nothing, again, as you've said, and I've alluded to what you've said many times as well, we did have a very good couple of windows where we absolutely built a spine of the team, a really good spine of the team. But that was, 6-7 years ago? Those players, most of them have been run into the ground and left the football club. Most of them not bringing in a transfer fee, which again doesn't really make sense to me for us supposed to being the clever boys who need every penny we can get. People at home feeling let down, Craig. FSG have a good PR team. Blocking out the negativity is what they're good at. That's the problem, Cliff, in Ireland. They certainly do have some powerful allies, mate. Yes, they certainly do. And this is what drives me even more around the bend, Cliff. You wonder why. Like, if I grew up like I did, supporting Liverpool, and I'm seeing failure and falling short as a consistent theme throughout the era of the greatest manager of my lifetime, and then we bring in another manager and he's not backed. As a fan who wants to be sincere and genuine, I don't understand how I could come on here, look at the camera and tell you that I'm optimistic and excited that we're going to go and win stuff. I feel like I'd be just disingenuous. So I can't speak for everybody else from other channels, podcasts, article writers. I don't know. I don't know how they can justify being happy with what they're seeing. But again, I would ask them, whoever their heroes were growing up, or whoever their fathers, mothers, aunts, uncles told them about the folklore of Liverpool Football Club, go and ask Graham Souness, Phil Thompson, any of those guys about finishing third or fourth, and see if that sits well with them. If that would have happened in their dressing room. If their professional careers were put on the sidelines while the owners went about slowly, ever so slowly, trying to reassemble a team at a snail's pace, and see if they'd hang around. Ask Graham Souness what he'd do if he was Trent right now. You know, that would be my answer to these people. We all grew up without any hesitation being told the club exists to win. Shankly, Fagan, Paisley, Dalglish, winners. Deeslaw? No ambition. Can you please tell Neville from Planet Ards he doesn't know what he's talking about? Typical Mac. If we're talking about Gary Neville, well, I agree with you with regards to when it comes to United, he defo has a blind spot. I do like Neville as a pundit. I have to say, I do think when he's not talking about United or Liverpool, he can make a lot of sense. His predictions are an absolute joke for the season ahead. How can you have Dominic Solanke being the greatest impact signing of the season and have Spurs finishing worse off than they were last year? I think same for Carragher's, actually, if I'm being honest. Didn't he have Pedro Neto as his impact signing of the season, but yet still thinks Chelsea will finish 6th or 7th or something? These are professional pundits, paid millions to come out with that tripe. Anfield Art said, if you're first, you're first. If you're second, you're nothing. Exactly. Sport's about winning. History's written by the winners. I'd never step onto a pitch as a player when I was younger, except in anything other than wanting to win the league at the start of the campaign. I'd never step onto a tennis court or enter into a competition without wanting to win the tournament. That's my aim. I'm not saying I manage to achieve it all the time, but you go out there with the belief that you're going to win it all. And I don't look at this team and feel like that's a team that I believe can go out there and win it all. I don't, because we've seen last year they fell apart. And now they're all a year older, with even a shorter break in between seasons, with another busy campaign ahead, and I'm supposed to believe that suddenly we're going to just coach improvements, enough improvements that squad depth won't matter. Benjamin said, and by the way, to that Ronnie lad earlier on, normally I don't go in on people unless they are swearing at me or belittling me. So if somebody comes in and says, I disagree with you, Craig, blah, 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 no problem. We can talk that out. But if you come in and say you're talking shite to me or anything along those lines, the gloves are off in my eyes, and you're going to get back the same amount of respect you gave me, which is none. And I take no pleasure in it, but I'm not being belittled by anyone. Man, woman, child, dog, don't care. Speak to people with respect. It's a minimum in life. Benjamin said, all I can think, Craig, is, around Trent is, I said early this year when Klopp was off, he looked gone. Trent had to stay, Craig. If he goes, it'll be mayhem. So the thing about Trent for me, Benjamin, is if Trent has any thoughts of leaving, and I don't know that he does, but if he does, surely you sell him in this window rather than let him potentially go for nothing. It's a big gamble to say we're going to try and convince him between now and the end of December, before the winter window opens, where he could sign a pre-contract for a club outside of England. That may well happen. The club may well convince Trent to stay, and we all hope that they do. But again, for the people who are supposed to be very, very clever, for the owners that are supposed to have data coming out there, who has? Where was the data to tell them to stop being idiots and not let Trent go into the last year of his deal? When you've got journalists like Paul Joyce openly saying they think that they took their eye off the ball, how am I supposed to feel reassured about the rest of it? When something that us mere mortals, us idiots at home, knew was going to be a problem. So to the FSG apologists or the FSG bootlickers, explain that one to us. Explain to me why this is a good decision. To allow your vice captain, your local hero, to get into the last year of his contract. Let's look at the possible outcomes of it. He stays and signs a new deal. Well, do you think he's signing a new deal for the same money he might have 9 months ago? Or do you think maybe his leverage in this negotiation has been strengthened by it being the last year of his deal and knowing Real Madrid are sniffing around and want to sign him on a free? So that's option 1. You overpay. Option 2, he leaves. He doesn't sign the new deal and leaves either for a fee or signs a pre-contract agreement in January. That's it. They're the options. And none of them, to me, are good business. Am I wrong? Acentino, just wanted to say I appreciate you. As I do you, my friend. I know we don't always agree on everything, but you always go about things in a kind, respectful, courteous manner, and I really do appreciate that. So thank you. You never need to say that to me, mate. I know you're on the level. I appreciate you as well. Thank you. Mark Harding said, Edwards and Co. flucked it with Salah and Robbo. The transfer strategy is wrong. Without the Coutinho money, Klopp would be nowhere. 100% agree with you. Absolutely. Without that windfall that we're still talking about 7 years later, 6 years later, which is mad. Without that money, you're right. Because the net spend is the net spend. It's about 40 to 45 million a season. Last year was our biggest ever net spend, 90 million quid. And almost coincidentally, we've made approaching that this year in wages saved and fees for players brought in. It feels very much like they are trying to make up for having to spend money. And as for this sustainable nonsense that we keep getting told about, the numbers in my brain just don't add up for this to be the best that we can do in the market. I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense to me. Again, if we're knowing that the basic wages are approximately £125 million a year, and we turn over £550 million a year, come on now. You know, I know there's incentives and add-ons and bonuses and all that other stuff that will take that fee higher. But come on. Again, the numbers that just don't make sense. Scotty said, look what John Achterberg said. If we got Fekir, we wouldn't have signed Ali. Exactly. And do you know what though, Scotty? Is it a coincidence that he said that as soon as he departs the club? Because I get the sense that he's probably frustrated as well. And he's right. And my question is again, why are we that far advanced with Fekir? If one, we knew signing him was going to hamstring us to sign Alisson, because the keeper was the priority in that situation. So we did the media stuff with him, got his images taken, we were in the negotiation, and we knew we hadn't got the money to do the deal. Now, in what world is that not being disingenuous? Well, wherever you pulled out the deal for, be it the medical or whatever else, fair enough. But why even start it if you know you're not going to follow through with it because you don't have the money? And then we had the 110 million we were willing to pay for Caicedo last year, which we all know we've spent probably half of between Gravenberch and Endo, and then again we've recouped. So the only argument that you're going to hear is that Edwards and Hughes didn't seem that they found anybody who they think could come in and improve the squad. And do you know what drives me fucking demented? Speaking with David earlier on, we were talking about centre-back. And every part of that conversation was about a centre-back being wanted who wouldn't come in and challenge, who would be third or fourth choice and would understand and appreciate that they're not going to play every game. Now, how is that the same as we won't accept second best? We will only sign players that are 100% an improvement of what's here. How do those two things balance? Because they don't in my mind. If you're going to bring in a centre-back and you're saying that you're only bringing in somebody who's going to improve the team, then that guy should be a starter. This idea of bringing in a third or fourth choice doesn't make sense. So everything I hear about FSG and their methods and not accepting second best and wanting generational talents, they want it until they have to pay for it. And then they very quickly back scramble and figure out a way to make it sound like it wasn't a viable deal. Didn't want to guarantee Lenny Ora playing time, didn't want to pay his wages. That's the truth. It's not that he isn't good enough. He was too high a wage to come in and challenge because he wants game time. Well, how does that make sense? We either want to sign the best or we don't. Am I wrong? Again, how does that square up? Bringing in a defender who's third or fourth choice versus this bullshit we hear about Edwards not accepting anything but absolute supremo talent who's going to come in and start straight away. Improve what we have at the club. Don't want squad fillers. That doesn't make any sense to me. They didn't push hard enough for Zubimendi. Probably got the agreement from Real, then backed off. The Zubimendi thing should have been pretty straightforward. You have 48 hours. You shouldn't need to be convinced to leave Liverpool Football Club. You have 48 hours. Decide if you'd like to make the move or not. If you want to go ahead with it, welcome to the club. We'll give you the money to go and trigger the release clause. Go get it done. But nope, it was dragged out and we were played like a fiddle. And then he made up his mind to turn down treble the money to stay at Sociedad. And very quickly, the line out from the media was, well, there's nobody else on planet Earth. Nobody else is good enough. After the 3-year exhaustive search, they ended up with Zubimendi, who said no. And we're supposed to accept that. We're supposed to go, well, he tried. Sorry. I'm not going to say, well, he tried if somebody misses a sitter in the last minute of the Champions League final that costs us the final. It's not good enough. Same with these. Trying isn't good enough. You're paid handsomely to achieve things, to get things done. You're supposed to be the geniuses. You're supposed to be the clandestine supermen who move around in the background, who have all the contacts, who have the great relationships with agents. How did you get fucked over on this one? Who looked you in the eye and lied to you? Was nobody able to get a read on the situation? All these superhuman geeks, have none of them able to look somebody in the eye and tell if they're bluffing? Or call their fucking bluff? As I said, 48 hours, make your mind up. It's not difficult. Player says yes or no. If they're dragging their heels, you move on. LFC Cal said, feels like we're being fed lies at every turn, depending on what message fits their agenda for any given scenario. Yes, and it's always the same. We won't understand. They're not going to listen to the outside noise, which is the opinions of the people who support the club. We're the outside noise. It doesn't take a genius to say no to everything. It doesn't take a genius to do nothing over the course of a transfer window. You don't get credit for not pulling the trigger. Find the guy. That's your damn job. Use all of the data analytics and scouting at your disposal and find the guy. No excuses. No, well, we tried. Tchouaméni, Caicedo, Lavia, Zubimendi. Shit the bed on every single one of them. But no accountability. And again, coincidentally, every time we fail, there's a cheaper option. And even Zubamendi, look at that. The player they landed on, €60 million, £51 million, was the player they landed on, and they still didn't get it done. Hugo Santos said, I can understand Americans not knowing better about football, but Edward should know better about how great Liverpool has to be. Exactly. I can understand the difference of culture. Of course. Absolutely. I wouldn't dare go in to try and claim to understand the intricacies of running an NFL or a Major League Baseball team. I wouldn't have a clue. I'm a fan of the NFL from the outside. I'm a casual viewer. I really enjoy watching it. But I would dare try and sit down with somebody who's followed the sport for 20 years and tell them that I know that the owners are doing X or Y. I wouldn't, because I don't understand the culture. Football is about winning. There is jeopardy involved. That is one of the differences. That's one of the most appealing factors of it. There is no guarantees in the sport. You have to earn the right to be in Europe. You've got to earn the right to stay in the Premier League. You've got to earn the right to lift those trophies. And our owners don't care. And that's how I feel. What happened to us signing Thuram and Kone? Two promising players in the midfield, and we don't seem to have made an attempt with either. So the answer will most likely be, Cameron, that they don't fit the data model, or that they don't fit the style that the manager wants to play. And again, in isolation, that's okay. You know, I'm sure that there are going to be names put forward, dozens of them, that have the rule ran over them and then somebody decides yeah or nay. But to come up with only one name, and that's it. That's the extent of our attempt at this summer's transfer window. One attempt to sign one player that failed miserably, has set us backwards, has embarrassed us again publicly. And once again, I'm supposed to sit here and believe that these people are all superior, intelligent human beings to the rest of us. I know bad publicity when I see it. And shit in the bed and being mocked by the Spanish media for another player not wanting to come over to England is not a good look for what is supposed to be the most attractive, most powerful, most watched league in the world. When it comes time to Arne Slot and the players, I'm all in. I'm behind them every step of the way. That's not what these conversations are about. This isn't about whether I'll support the team or not. Of course I will. When we kick off with Brentford, all I'll be thinking about is the game, what the manager's doing, and what changes we might need to make or how we're getting on. Of course we will. But these are the windows to strengthen. The only times you get the opportunity to build for the season ahead. And we know the club aren't fans of the winter window for various reasons. It's usually a sign something's going wrong or desperation, you'll overpay, it's a shortened window in itself, it's midway through a campaign so you don't get the pre-season with the players. None of this adds up other than a concerted, determined effort not to spend money. And again, I'm sure I disagree with even many of my friends on that. But it's the only way I can justify in my head how we haven't signed anyone. Because there isn't not a single player on world football that can come in and do a job. Hoarder, thank you mate for your membership. 1 month with us now, welcome in again. Said, does anyone remember the end of last season? Yes, vividly. And do you know what was funny about it? We fell off when the senior players came back. So the kids were finding ways. And when we start bringing in and reintroducing what we would class as the senior pros, we fell away. The wheels fell off. What was supposed to be the last dance for Jurgen ended up being another massive anti-climax. Another season where we could have had an opportunity to win everything. And much like the other seasons where we've been able to shout to win everything, we end up with one of the small ones. That's it. No Europa League farewell in Dublin for Jurgen. No Premier League farewell for Jurgen. No ramming it back down the throats of everyone who tried to discredit and take away the one league title he did win. Nope. Nothing. Just so long, Jurgen. Cheers. And we're supposed to believe that Trent and Virgil and Mohammed are looking at this group and feeling like they should commit the next part of their careers. Or any player coming in from the outside would look at this and go, this is not an ambitious club. This is not a club that's really wanting to win. You can talk till you're blue in the face. You can paint as many vivid pictures that don't match reality as you want. But reality is, when it comes to the business end of these seasons, when it comes down to the minor games, the Champions League finals, the head-to-heads that make a difference, we come up short. More often than not. I take no pleasure in saying that, but it's true. Again, Real Madrid, 2 Champions League finals. Small margins, they beat us. Football is about these minor, small gains. And again, how is not strengthening going to give us any of those gains? I get it, you can improve on the coaching ground. But Jurgen Klopp was no idiot. Jurgen Klopp wasn't wet behind the ears. Jurgen Klopp knows how to coach a football team. JB, welcome in. He said it's your first time super chat. Really appreciate that, JC. Thank you. Or JB, excuse me, sir. Thank you. Said first time super chat. Tony Khan is the perfect American owner. Look what he and his dad gave Fulham, and Tony has AEW Wrestling Company and the Jaguars to run too. It's pure incompetence from our owners. So I have actually looked in a little bit to Tony Khan, mate, over the years. I remember when he tried to buy Wembley. And he's involved, I think, in a lot of the London NFL stuff that you've seen over the years. I don't know much about the Jacksonville Jaguars from a sense of their history and tradition or what they've won or not won. I know that they're paying their quarterback way too much money for the talent that he has yet to show. And I know that the Jaguars, I think, are looking at building a new stadium as well. But yeah, Tony Khan's always seemed like an ambitious guy. I don't get that. And look, it's almost like history's repeating itself with what happened with the Red Sox. You know, again, my limited understanding of Major League Baseball is they came in, and much like us breaking a 30-year hoodoo for the league title, they broke a longer streak of the Curse of the Bambino and won a couple of World Series, I believe, 2 or 3 maybe, but didn't sustain it. Now, I don't know how easy it is to sustain success in Major League Baseball. I don't understand it. But I know that it ended up in a similar situation with a disenfranchised, angry fan base who's seen assets stripped away and not replaced. Does that sound familiar? Because that's what I'm looking at with Liverpool. So, a favour. We're on this crazy streak of hitting 1,000 likes. You know what I'm about to say. If you haven't, please do take a second. Hit that like button. It really does mean a lot to me to keep this streak going. So if you have a second, please hit the like button. So I have another hour or so left on tonight's stream because tomorrow's my day off. So I'm going to go till 11 o'clock tonight just to see the back page of stuff and what comes out tomorrow. So stick with us. We're going to keep chatting. We're going to keep airing our frustrations. I want to hear your opinions. But as I said, we do want to keep this lucky streak going. So please do hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. So Kenu said protests. The problem about this situation for me, mate, is I think you'll only get people on side when the wheels are already off. And I'd love a protest. I would. But I don't feel like the sentiment is there yet. Because the optimism for some, for a new fresh campaign under a new era, it's not a great look to start protesting already. Because it certainly isn't about Arna. It certainly isn't about the new regime. It's about the owners. And I don't know what it will take for some to get to the point of mobilising and getting beyond FSGO. Because that's not going to work. Twitter posts aren't going to work. It's going to take another concerted effort of fans coming together and embarrassing them into doing their job or selling. Because that's where I'm at with it. Just do the basics. Give the manager the funds in the transfer market and you won't hear a peep from most of us from one end of the year to the next about the owners. I have no interest in talking about them. They should be irrelevant to us. But when they're not doing their job, I think we have to speak up. And I don't want it to happen when the league's already gone. I don't want it to happen when we've already been knocked out of the domestic cup competitions of the Champions League. Then it's too late again. Every year we're lied to. Every year we're given false hope. Every year we're pitched the vision of this club being able to compete at the top level against big clubs in the market for trophies. But the fact of the matter is very different. We're the least ambitious big club on the planet, in my opinion. Charlie, no bother, bud. Thank you for the email, mate. Always try to reply to the emails where possible, Charlie. So thank you for taking the time to reach out, mate. I do appreciate your support. Craig, hope you're well. Embarrassing, missing out on Euro. Madrid didn't go in, and then no further option. Pathetic. And do you know what the thing is, Porta? Do you know what really wound me up about that? It's that they used Madrid not going for him as a way of justifying it was the right decision. So it was basically, well, if Madrid didn't want to make the deal happen, we didn't want to make the deal happen. Aren't we both so clever? No, you're both cheap. Madrid have brought in Mbappe this summer. I don't know if our owners have noticed that. They brought in Bellingham before. They've done their rebuild. For us, no. That's the closest we get to some glory. It's been mentioned alongside Real Madrid as not being willing to spend the money for Eleni Euro, who we were told unequivocally that if Madrid didn't go in for him, Liverpool are waiting in the wings. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Go back, do your Google searches, and look at the Eleni Euro situation. Pick a journalist, whoever your favourite is, it doesn't matter. Every single goddamn one of them repeated ad nauseum the line from the club, which is Real Madrid are clearly in the box seat, but should Real Madrid not show their willingness to complete a deal, Liverpool are being kept informed on the situation and will strike. Am I wrong? Then what happens? We back off because the dude wants 140 grand a week. And we can't guarantee him playing time. So you want generational talents, but they don't expect decent wages because they don't know they're a generational talent. You want to bring in players that will only improve the first team, but yet you don't. Everything is a contradiction of the other. But it's always an excuse not to spend money. Benjamin said, anything on Salah? I did bring it up when I was speaking with David earlier on. I think we're both, and not to put words in David's mouth here, I think we're both of the mindset that it's probably more likely than unlikely that he departs. Not this summer, but it's going to take him to backtrack on his salary. And I don't see why he'd do that, because he knows he can get it elsewhere. So, is it an accident that we'd seen the Athletic post something along the lines of Mohamed Salah won't move to Manchester to taint his Liverpool legacy, but he would be open to a move to London? Do you think that's an accident? Do you think that that's not put out there intentionally to try and rile us into making sure that we don't let Mohamed Salah go to London and we speak up? Come on now. And if that is genuinely being what's briefed, then that absolutely undermines his legacy regardless, because he's putting it out there. I've always said there is brand Salah that people have just ignored. For me, as soon as I heard he was sitting there with the PSG president after, I think it was the Bournemouth game a while back, I was pissed off. I was annoyed when Sadio Mane wasn't able to really celebrate winning the African Cup of Nations or qualifying for the World Cup. I was annoyed when Sadio Mane wasn't shown the love. I love Salah, but I'll be a liar if I sit here and say there haven't been times where he's been a distraction and a disruption, and it will happen again this season. How do we think that if he doesn't get a new deal, we're not going to be bombarded with stuff from November through to January, or maybe even next summer, about his future? That it isn't going to become a headache and a distraction? That it isn't going to become a demoralising factor if it starts to break that he's probably going to move to Saudi, or that Real Madrid or somebody else wants to make a move from when he leaves? How is that not going to knock morale? It is going to happen. But again, we're not allowed talk real. We're not allowed give what's going to be the reality, because some people want to just bury their heads in the sand. I told you about Trent for the last 9 months, that this was a big problem in the making, and everybody was like, no, calm down, loads of time, the club know about it. And then we heard that he didn't want to talk until they had the manager sorted out. Then it was the manager was sorted out, and then it was the Euros, of course. Then the Euros are over. Now we're into the summer transfer window, and there's still no offer of a new contract to him. And we're supposed to believe that Trent's going to feel the love. Trent's going to feel wanted and valued by the club. They let him get to this position. They shit the bed. Fritz said, the protest has to be support the players during the game, but don't spend a damn penny at concessions or at the club store. Yes, absolutely. The funny thing is, if there are a section of season ticket holders that are supportive of these owners, I'd love to know their thought process on the reality, which is they would do away with season tickets tomorrow if they thought they'd get away with it. Because season ticket holders don't spend money. Season ticket holders aren't going to be going into the club store, aren't going to be probably having too many pints in the stadium. They'll have their own routines, they'll have their own food places, they'll have their own things that they do. But the fans that come from Ireland, Asia, America, Canada, Australia, Norway, Sweden, wherever, they're the ones that are going to put cash through the tills, and they're the tickets they can charge more for. So these same people that are maybe supportive of the owners, do you think for 1 second that they would not remove season ticket holders tomorrow if they thought they could get away with it? Because they would make far more money, and they don't give a shite about season ticket holders. Not a shite. Again, there's loyalty and there's blind loyalty, and that is blind loyalty, because I'm telling you, they would sell those season tickets out from under them tomorrow if they thought they could make more money from it and get away with it, and they wouldn't think twice about it. Again, Hoarder, thank you, mate. You didn't put a comment in. Appreciate you. Matthew said, strengthen from a position of strength. Right? That would be my viewpoint, sir, yes. We're still Liverpool. We find ways of winning because we're always winners. How do we find a way to win the Premier League last year? Did we find a way to win the Europa League? The competition that, let's be quite frank, we should have been too good to be in. But we found a way to get beaten handsomely at home on that. Coincidentally, Jurgen's last European game at Anfield. Coincidentally, no flags or banners out of a protest against 60 cents going on the cost of a ticket. 60p, sorry. So where was the winning then? I don't remember finding the way to win at that particular moment. Ryan, baby boy, somebody saying in the chat. Where's this? I need to get Ryan's comment. I can't find the comment, but somebody saying Ryan had a baby boy. That's awesome. Congratulations to you and your partner, mate. That's brilliant news. Really is. It's Craig, sorry, you're just speculating. Do you... Okay, so firstly, you got the you're wrong, mate. It's you are speculating. It's Y-O-U apostrophe or E. But that aside, I'm speculating about what? Have we signed a player in this window, yes or no? What's the speculation? I'm talking about facts. We've not fucking signed the player. That isn't speculation. That's fact. We haven't gone forward from finishing third last year when our rivals have strengthened. That's a fact. We've been lied and manipulated to in the media. Again, that's a fact. So what's the speculation? Now, granted, some of the things I've talked about tonight have been hypotheticals because we don't know contract details because they're private and confidential. There are certain things we don't know. But if you're talking about the season ticket holders, come on now. Remember, these are the same owners that were willing to send us up to a Super League without caring about anyone in the fan base, season ticket holder or otherwise. So in what world am I supposed to believe that they have a soft spot for people making them less money? I think that's naivety of the highest order. But again, it is your opinion and you are entitled to it. Danny said, Craig, you're a legend, mate. Surely Trent will want assurances about the club's ambitions going forward before committing the best years of his career. Of course. But I guess the question I would say, Danny, is if you're Trent or if I'm Trent and you're getting the reassurances, do you believe them? Because they're just words. Actions haven't shown that we are an ambitious club in this window, right? Let's try to be fair about it. If I'm Trent and I'm sitting there, and as you said, I know I'm going into the prime of my career now. And remember, the key thing here is he's already won everything at Liverpool. It's not like he won't know what it feels like to win a league title at Anfield. He's done it all. He's won it all. And he's 25. And the biggest club in world football want to sign him. And his mate is playing over there and on for a potential Ballon d'Or in his first full season there. They've won the European Cup. They've won La Liga. They've brought in Kylian Mbappe. So I find it hard to believe that there's any way to look Trent Alexander-Arnold squarely in the eyes and tell that young man that this club wants to win and are doing everything possible to win. I really do find that a stretch to be able to convince the young man of, because as I said, he's not wet behind the ears. His agent will be absolutely licking his lips knowing that either he's going to get paid or he's going to go and play Real Madrid and potentially win multiple European Cups. So that's where I'm at with all of this. Hoarder said, Craig, with no purchases, I think we will not end up in the top 4. I would say I'm 60-40 for us getting in the top 4 without any additions, but I don't really... Top 4 isn't acceptable. You know? It might be acceptable because it gives us Champions League football again, but it's not acceptable from the point of view of trying to convince us that we're a serious club that want to win. And at this moment in time, I don't see a squad that's deep enough to really go over the course of a 38-game season and into a Champions League up against the likes of a Madrid and a City and an Arsenal and think that we can do it. I don't feel that at the minute. Ryan said, Craig, let's be real. We've had many opportunities to improve the squad in past windows. Now we have contracts and positions to fill in one window because we've left it so late. Well, absolutely, Ryan. And haven't done any of it. Like, none of it. Not done the negotiations. Your captain's come out and said he hasn't even heard from the club about a negotiation or an extension. Your vice captain, there'll be a panic when the window closes to try and sort him out. And as you said, not a single player brought in. I don't know how this is ambitious in anyone's eyes. Are we in for Rabiot? I believe not, thankfully. So my understanding of the Rabiot situation was always that he wanted too much money in his prime years, let alone now when his best days are behind him. He's 29. It would go against everything that we're told we've been looking for in this market, but it would have one added benefit. You know where I'm going with this. He'd be pretty much free with a signing bonus. But no, I believe truly no. You know, and we shouldn't be near Rabiot. He's not good enough to come into Liverpool. And congratulations again on the baby, Ryan. Honestly delighted for you, mate. That's brilliant news. Always glad to hear good news in the chat, mate. Anthony said, problem is anything going to happen before the window closes? If not, I don't see them being inspired enough to stay. So, as I sit here now, I can't definitively say we will or we will not sign anyone. I can't. Nor can anyone I've spoken to. So, the most optimistic answer I think I can give you is that if an opportunity that the club feel is worth the investment and a fit happens to appear in the last week, maybe there will be that, to quote Richard Hughes, opportunistic signing in the window. But I guess my pushback is, and of course I'm not against an opportunistic signing, but my pushback is we're supposed to be clever and planning and meticulous. So where is that planning? The planning can't have been that one name was pinned to a board and that name was Zubamendi, and that after that it was just wash your hands, move on and talk about sales. Because that's what we faced up to. You know, the goalkeeper situation, Mamardashvili, that's a good signing. Nothing wrong with future-proofing. I applaud them for the idea of signing Mamardashvili. That, to me, is good business. Sincerely. I don't have any objections to bringing in Georgi Mamardashvili to future-proof against Alisson leaving. I think that's good squad planning, which would make a nice change from the lack of squad planning that we've seen up to this point. How is the jawmate's physio working? It's really sore today, Ross. I don't know if it's because of all the manipulation of it yesterday from the physio, but yeah, I'm in quite a bit of pain today. But I did get a good letter in the post to say that I've got an appointment on the, I think it's the 23rd of September, to see a surgeon about my jaw, to see if I will finally get the operation to fix it, which is both scary and hopeful at the same time. Craig, most directors of football get a year to plan signings. Richard Hughes has had less than half of that because he's working at Bournemouth. So I get that's a fair point, Alex, but it's also important to remember, mate, that our recruitment team didn't stop. So the likes of Will Spearman and others have been at the club working in the background. And if the case was that they were coming in and the plan was to build for the next window, then that's what should have been told. You know, we should have been told that they don't have enough time. Don't expect much. But we were told to expect a centre-back, a midfielder, and a forward throughout the media, from one end to the next. So it's a fair point. Absolutely, mate. They do need as much time as possible, of course, to run the rule over everyone. But we have had a recruitment team still working. The information's still there. And to have done nothing, actually, no, do nothing would have been a positive over what we've done. We've embarrassed ourselves again. So I don't want to push back what you've said too much, because I'm a rational human being and I understand where you're coming from. But we have had a recruitment team already at the club that have done a lot of the heavy lifting. It's not like Michael Edwards came in one day with a USB drive, stuck it in the computer and said, ta-da, there it is, now everything will be better. You know, a lot of this work has already been done. Is there going to be a Brentford preview? Yeah, I recorded it earlier on. It's coming out at midday tomorrow. I always put them out on my day off, so I'm not doing any content tomorrow, so it'll be coming out at 12 o'clock. Thank you, Arungida. Very kind of you. What's the point in bringing Hughes and Edwards in? To run the footballing side of the club. Now look, I would happily... Where's that gentleman gone again? Alex, 2604. I will converse with somebody like Alex all day, who comes in and gives a fair, valid point, isn't trying to punch down at any of us, mock any of us. I have time for people like Alex every day of the week, man. I'll sit here and debate with you about why I think my point is valid and vice versa. So fair play, Alex. We might not agree on maybe how this window's panning out, but I do respect the way you went about your comment. There's opportunistic mean cheap. I would certainly not say it only means cheap. It could be opportunistic for various reasons. It could be a player that a club would rather not sell, but maybe they haven't done the amount of sales they needed to balance the books in the window and they're under a bit of pressure. It could be a player who was a fallout with a manager and maybe wants to push out at the end and wouldn't put in a transfer request midway through the window, but at the end maybe would. So it could be a price thing. It could be an availability thing. Yeah, I mean, opportunistic just means not in the plans, really, is how I'd read it. Or maybe a name that they liked but didn't think was going to be available. Thank you, Alex. Same back to you, mate. Was it reasonable amount of years to give Salah for a new contract? So I would say for Mo, personally, if you could sort out a number that everyone's happy with on a weekly, two years with an option of a third. And I'd probably be 2 years for Virgil as well. Maybe not so much. Maybe give the club the option of the third. But I think 2 years would be fair for both of them. I think all of us probably feel that them two gentlemen have 2 years left at the top level of football. Even if it's not at their brilliant best, they can still contribute a lot via the course of 2 more campaigns. That's how I'd feel about it. I think both of them can play. Virgil is 36, 37 at centre-back, and Mohamed easily till he's 33, 34, depending on how you reinvent them. And how sparingly, I guess, you use him as well as he gets older. Average Kaze said, we need a left back. Don't see Robbo holding his own this year. It's certainly a valid point, mate. You know, Andy Robertson would not want to pick up injuries, you know. Robbo, you know what Robbo's like. He run through a brick wall for the club and the manager. He is a model professional. But, you know, Father Time is unbeaten. And he has started to have injuries. And he said he was basically playing through some pain, I think, for 5 months. So, yeah, you're right. We do need strength in there. And it's very worrying when you're seeing some links with Costas moving. Because, again, I'd have to believe that if Costas did depart, that surely we'd be bringing in a replacement, that we wouldn't allow a left back to go when we don't have anybody else that can come in really and do the job there. Save for maybe Gomez, who, again, speaking with David, I probably got a bit more concerned about the prospect of Gomez staying. I thought at this point, we've sold Vandenberg, Gomez going would be a non-starter, but, you know, David's certainly of the opinion that it's certainly possible we see Joe Gomez leave before the end of the campaign, and that would be like losing 2 players at once for me because of his versatility. Sam, thank you, Sam, for your super chat. Sam said, Craig, do you think FSG will use an excuse if we don't make Champions League next season? We've got no money to make the top signings next season as well. So there's 2 thought processes that I've heard from people. One is that we spent the money last season to make sure we got back in to the Champions League, so that revenue was there. So I don't know is the answer. I don't know if going out of the Champions League would wake them up enough to feel like maybe they need to go again. Or I don't know if we're continuously just sitting in 4th and 3rd, if that's good enough for them. Financially, probably. But again, it comes back to ambition. And the ambition shouldn't be, do we qualify for the Champions League? The ambition should be, do we win the league or not? And if we don't win the league, why? I know that's a very simplistic take and it's a very competitive league, but we're not that far away. And that is, like, it's not like here where we finished 7th or 8th last year, 40 points off the top, 30 points off the top. We were 3rd and fell away at the end when we could have been in the title race. And some stupid games went against us. And also, and this is important as well, we were shafted by the PGMOL. If you look at the Jeremy Doku incident, look at the game against Spurs away from home when they were at the top of the league, look at the Odegaard handball at Anfield, those are all things that went against us as well, that could have kept the momentum going. And that's a whole other conversation about how and why we feel those decisions didn't go our way. I have my own thought processes on them, and they're probably not fit to be said on a stream, but the ambition shouldn't be bare minimum. The ambition should be, how do we build on what we've already done to bridge that gap and make the next step? Danny said, Craig, that was what I was trying to say on the Trent thing. Should have said, why should he commit his best years to finish third when he could win loads at Real Madrid? I know. And look, we all hope that Trent wants to stay, decides to stay. But if Trent came out and said, look, I'm leaving and I want to go and try something new at Madrid, even though I'm sure he'd be well coached into saying the right things, I think deep down we'd all probably feel like he doesn't feel the club's ambitions are matching his, which again would be sadly understandable. Right, so we only need 89 more likes to get to the magic 1,000. So if you haven't hit the like button yet, folks, please do. Hoarder, again, thank you for your super chat. Has anyone seen Hughes and Edwards? Sunday 1-1. So I think we're going to win on Sunday. I'm not expecting it to be easy, but I think we got a good warm-up against Ipswich, and I expect a physical, stop-start, frustrating game against Brentford unless we score early. What we can't let Brentford do is start winning niggly free kicks. So Ibrahim Konate in particular, for me, needs to be mindful that these guys are going to look to go to ground and set up opportunities to get those big physical players into the box and get crosses in. So we need to be mindful of that. We need to make sure that we score as early as possible and not give them an opportunity to sit back with a low block and frustrate us, try to pinch something on the counter. I think we win the game. I think the crowd's going to be up for it. Would have been Arna's first game as well. I think last week will be good. It's a good baptism of fire to what the Premier League's about to Arna, and he showed that he was up for the challenge. He made the necessary tweaks at half time and said the words that needed to get those boys out there in the second half winning those duels, and they did. Porter said, following on from my question earlier, do you think City look at their squad and only want 100% starters, or just have a squad, there isn't a drop off somewhere if someone is out? It's a joke. So I have to believe that City are looking at the situation with the 115 charges as well and have one eye on that. And maybe that's why they haven't gone massive in this transfer window. Because I don't know if those charges would come up in conversations. Let's say, for instance, they wanted to sign, I don't know, pick a player. They wanted to sign Vinicius Jr. I find it hard to believe that Vinicius Jr.'s representatives wouldn't be concerned about the charges hanging over Manchester City's head, and by extension, if they're found guilty, that would rub off and look badly on the brand of their player. So I don't know if Manchester City's real lack of big time spending in this window is to do with Guardiola sincerely feeling a squad is good enough, or if they're not looking to commit more money yet just in case the charges show that they end up having points deductions. But then again, they could have gone the Chelsea route as well and gone, well, we may face a transfer ban, let's front load now with a load of signings, because it feels to me that's what Chelsea are doing. Gundogan coming back, I think it's just a common sense thing. I mean, if I was a City fan and I heard Gundogan was coming back, I'd certainly wouldn't be annoyed about it anyway, because you know what a good player he is. Certainly understands Guardiola's system as well. So, but losing Alvarez, I think, could be big for them if they pick up a knock to Haaland or anything like that. There's talk of them looking at Kyogo, is it? The guy who's 29, I think, plays for Celtic. But yeah, they've certainly not gone big in this window. But, you know, they're coming from a position of winning the Premier League again, 4th time in a row. And there is sometimes something to be said for continuity. We've said this before. Keeping a team together a team that knows how to win, with a couple of little tweaks here or there. And they have brought in that winger, was his name Savinho, or the guy who they brought in from one of their parent clubs. They've obviously lost Julian Alvarez to Atletico Madrid. So yeah, look, it remains to be seen if they've gone forwards, backwards, or stood still. But I certainly know Arsenal have looked at Man City and thought they might be there for the taking this year. Guy is clutch and clutch when it matters. Sucks City re-signed him. Yeah, I won't lie. I was happy to see the back of Gundogan when he left Manchester City, because, like you've said, he's a quality player. He just is. He is somebody that would benefit any squad in world football. Ivan Schwackhoff retired from journalism. Did he? That's a shame. I always got a little chuckle. I always had a soft spot for Ivan. So, whatever he's doing, I hope he enjoys himself, and I hope he's a positive outlook on life. Will we need to break the wage structure for Virgil and Trent like we did for Salah? I just don't think there's any way we do. I can see a world where Trent gets about 300 grand a week, but I can't see anybody getting offered the money Salah was offered, because, to be honest, if there was one man that deserved a wage structure broken for them, it's Mohamed. Look what he's done. Look at the numbers. Look at the history. Look at the record books. Incredible. And for a mere 36, 38 million pound as well. So look, I can talk about whether I think Salah's best days are behind him or not, but the man deserved the money. Absolutely, 100%. Why is Gundogan leaving City? He's not leaving City, he's just re-signed for City. He left City to go to Barcelona, and then has already left Barcelona and come back to Manchester City. Gundogan gave up €600,000 a week in wages to come back. I think Gundogan probably looked at Barcelona and realised that it isn't the Barcelona of the last 10 years, Even from a simple little thing like playing in the Olympic Stadium while the new camp's being redone, I think Barcelona may become more attractive again down the road when that stadium's all revitalised and shiny. And now it just feels like Barcelona are in a really... Look, I'll be honest, they don't deserve players like Gundogan, Barcelona, for the way they've treated others as well. Barcelona I've lost a lot of respect for a club that I always thought highly of over the last few years from their actions. And, I'm not surprised Gundogan wanted out, because he's used to better. Thanks for answering my questions. Much love from Texas. Well, welcome in, Yusuf. It's lovely to have you as part of the community. And thank you for helping us get to 1,000 likes as well. It would have really bugged me if we didn't get there. So you guys are awesome for that. Right, we've 30 minutes left on tonight's stream. So we're going to keep an eye on the embargoed section of the press conference from today. If anything comes out, Mark and Connor will certainly put it into the chat. So keep venting. Keep getting your thoughts off your chest. Whatever it is you guys want to discuss, I'm here for the next 30 minutes. Remember, I won't be live tomorrow. It's my day off. So I will be putting out a recap video tonight about the news when we finish the stream, but for tomorrow it'll be the preview coming out at midday, and then that is it until Sunday. De Jong, 725,000 a week. I know. There's no chance you're getting him out of that Barcelona contract unless somebody pays a big chunk of cash, and I don't blame him. I think some of that wages money he was owed from back payments, but he still owed it. So if I'm Frankie de Jong, I'm not losing out that money either. Barca needed a wage bill cut to register the new player. The irony is, David, they still can't register Dani Olmo. Even after moving on Gundogan and his wages, they still haven't got the wiggle room as of yet to be able to register Dani Olmo. Do I rate Frankie de Jong? Yes, but I would have to be mindful about his injuries. If we're just talking about the quality of the player, incredibly good player. Incredibly good player. Yeah, certainly he has some injury concerns over recent years that maybe haven't seen him be at his very best. But look, I'm not going to sit here and say anything other than De Jong's a very good player. Ugarte gone to United. Well, that was always going to happen. Are they going to get him on loan with an option or obligation to buy, or have they figured out a 50 million quid deal? But either way, I don't understand how that dragged on all summer, because it was very clear PSG wanted rid of him. It was very clear United wanted to sign him. It was just a matter of making the numbers add up. And even today, like, Chelsea look like they're about to get 30 odd million euro for Lukaku as they look to try and bring in Victor Osimhen. So again, our opponents aren't standing still. I think they have to give Trent a new deal. As for Salah and Verge, offer a new deal and sell like they did to Coutinho. There's no time to sell. Like, think of it this way, Mark. If you're Virgil and Mohammed, and you know that the club, you know you can't get to an agreement with the club on a wage. Either they're offering you too little, or the length of the contract isn't what you want. Whatever it is. The time for selling's done. Because the window closes in a week. So you're never selling them in a week. Nor would they agree to a sale. In January, if they both wanted to, they could sign a pre-contract agreement to move out of the Premier League, and they wouldn't even have to tell Liverpool about it. So the time for selling's gone. It's going to be either a new contract or leave for free. That's what we're looking at right now. And that applies to Trent as well. Prediction for Sunday. I don't give them because they're in the preview. And the preview is coming out tomorrow. I've predicted Liverpool win. But yeah, the preview will come out at midday tomorrow, mate. So Thiago, as Mark said to me there as well, yes, Thiago has already left Barcelona's coaching staff. Craig, sorry I'm late. Just got back in from football. 1-2-1. I'm a goalkeeper. Could you please catch me up on what I've missed? More frustration, unfortunately. Gamer fluent. You know, I did an interview earlier on with David Lynch, and even after speaking with David, I still don't feel any more optimistic about the summer's transfer market. Potential move for Costas away from the club. Still a potential to sell Joe Gomez. I mean, I refuse to believe that we're naive. No, not even naive. That's not the right word. Thick enough to sell Joe Gomez and not replace him, to go into a campaign with 3 centre-backs. Because I don't count Nat Phillips, because we'd sell him tomorrow morning if somebody gave us the money. How is my frustration level today? So, Sean, weirdly, I'm almost at the point of acceptance now. You know, the hope is dissipating by the hour. So it's almost, I'm at the acceptance point now where my biggest fears, the thing that I've been trying to warn about all summer, is going to come to fruition. Which is one attempt at a signing, fail, and then sit in our hands and do nothing. We'll get the excuses about the right players, the market not being right, big future ahead, big summer next summer, blah, blah, blah. But been there, done it, heard it, don't care. Same old shit, season after season. And yet somehow, because of the wonderful, wonderful PR machine that is FSG and their disciple of bootlicking arseholes, it will be the status quo again. And we'll go into the campaign and people will want to be optimistic and dream, and then it'll fall away again, and then we'll start turning on each other as fans, and everybody will be angry, and it'll end up in people falling out with each other and the fan base becoming even more divided. And yet FSG are still sitting over in Boston, still not giving a fuck, while the rest of us will be venting our frustration towards each other. And that makes me sad. Phillips is a good player. No, he's not. He's an average. If he's so great, why is nobody giving us 6 or 8 million quid for him? Genuine question. Like, let's be realistic about it. He's in the last year of his Liverpool contract. We've been trying to get rid of him for years. We've not managed to find a buyer. even in the last year of his deal, for a limited fee, we can't find a buyer. There has to be a reason for that, and that reason is that he is a dependable, honest, hard-working defender, but he's not good enough. Which is the reason he was nowhere near the squad again. Acceptance is exactly where FSG knows we'll end up, sitting in Boston. Unfortunately, yes. And until the tide turns a little bit more and more people start to realise that the people that they label as, and by the way, that's what we are all labelled as, is FSG nut jobs, or FSG out nut jobs. They all think that we're down some rabbit hole where we believe in conspiracy theories and money's being taken out of Liverpool to fund the Red Sox and all these other mad shit that nobody I know believes. But we do see a lack of spending, window after window. And somehow they've managed to create this narrative where anybody who wants to challenge, anybody who has some ambition for the club is deluded, doesn't understand the club, isn't from Liverpool, is playing Fantasy Manager or FIFA. And people have bought it. I think I've probably summarised things quite well there. But you'll see FSG out trending 3 or 4 more times over the course of the season when the wheels unfortunately start to fall off. Right, I'm trying to catch up on some comments. We'll struggle to sell Phillips on 70k a week. I'm trying to look at the wages here. Yeah, he is. He's on 65 here on my end. Oh, that makes my head hurt. I hadn't even clocked that before, mate, and I have the list here of wages in front of me, or reported wages. So yeah, he's on 65 grand a week. Elliott's on 40. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Who the fuck's gonna... He'll have run down that deal and leave. Yeah, I never even clocked that, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how that happens. How is Luis Diaz on less money than Nat Phillips? Because Diaz wages are reportedly about 55 or 60 grand a week, and Phillips is 60 or 65. How is Lucho on less money than Nat Phillips? I never even clocked that until you mentioned it, mate. And I've looked through this wage list a few times today to look for the obvious names, but even Costas is on 75 G's a week, so he's on more than Diaz. The Diaz wage is horrendous. You're right. The fact, Diaz not being on a contract of at least 100 grand a week does seem on the scabby side. And the mad part is, he still has 3 years to go on his deal. So, the club are in a position there where they've got a very good player on a very low wage. So, I can understand why the club wouldn't move him on unless they get a ridiculous offer, because if I'm Lucho now, I'm looking around me and going, I'm on less money than this lad who can't even get into the matchday squad. Wow. That is astonishing. Diaz's wages were double from when he was in Portugal. Yeah, that's not unusual, to be fair. I'd well imagine that. But it just seems on the low side. Let's have a look at his fellow left winger, Cody Gakpo, £120,000 a week. Darwin, 140. Jota, 140. Yeah, that... I mean, I applaud the club for getting him to sign the contract on those terms, but yeah, God, it's the Nat Phillips one that's blown my mind, honestly. You're right, no, there's no way we're getting rid of Nat Phillips. The only way we're getting rid of him is if we pay down his contract. But we're a well-run club, yeah. Whoever gave a £65,000 a week contract to a player that has never been considered a real first teamer unless there's injuries is I can't even use the terminology I'd like to use. We need to sign people. FSG can't blame the money now because all the players we've sold, we've accumulated 67.4 million, but apparently that's not enough. Don't forget about the wages we've saved as well, that we were all told about, 18.7 million. Don't forget as well about the Husqvarna, Lucasade and now Ladbrokes sponsorship deals that have been brought on board as well. Yeah. But, you know, there's always an excuse, is my answer to this. Whatever the reason is this window why we haven't performed like we would have expected before the window, there's always an excuse for it. And some people just keep buying it and others are starting to question it. And I believe that over the course of time, more people are going to come across and join the frustrated side, because no coach in the world can win the Champions League and League with this group, in my opinion, without more strength and depth. It's not that there isn't a good enough 11. There is a good squad here, but it's not deep enough. Especially when it comes to centre-backs. So let's look at the Lenny Yoro argument for a little minute. We didn't want to pay him £140,000 a week for 5 years, which is what? 7 million quid a year, if I'm right. Is it 25? Yeah, 107 million quid a year over a 5-year contract. It's 35 million in wages. But we just sold Sepp van den Berg for 20 million plus 5 million in add-ons. And still didn't see that there was value in bringing in Yoro, because the excuse we're being given is he wasn't seen as being ready to play straight away. Even though that's also the same brief we're being given about the type of centre-back we're looking for. Is somebody who doesn't expect to come in and start straight away. He also potentially ticks the generational talent box from anyone who's worked with the kid. But yet still, there are people who say, no, geniuses. Real Madrid walked away, yes, because they've signed Bellingham and Mbappe recently. That may have escaped a lot of people's attention. They've already rebuilt their squad quite well. Got Camavinga in for next to nothing. Signed Tchouaméni. Brought in Bellingham. Have Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Valverde, Courtois, and on and on and on. And the only reason they didn't sign him is because they wanted to get him on a free or very cheap. And he didn't hold his nerve. Daniel James to replace Mo Salah. I mean... The fact we don't even have one goddamn competitor for Mohamed Salah on the right hand side, not one at the club, other than Ben Doak, who we're willing to loan out or sell, is an absolute fucking joke. A joke. Mark said that Robbo, Canada and Kelleher's deals all expire in 2 years as well. So we'll see what happens with them. Sorry, I'm getting a couple of bits from the embargoed stuff in now. So some quotes from Arne Slot. Said, don't expect me to go after the game and make fist pumps. That's not going to be my style. It is more, let the team play in a certain way. And they like the team because of that. They like the manager as well. Understand that. That's fairly straightforward stuff. Just go out there and win and everyone will be happy. I can get on board with that from Arne Slot, definitely. Could Allison leave? I don't think this summer, no. But they're certainly, the club are preparing for that eventuality, whenever that eventuality may come. I honestly don't know if it's going to be next year or the year after, but the club are certainly starting to look towards life after Alisson. And look, I'm okay with that as well, as I've always said about the Mamardashvili deal. No problem with that whatsoever. Craig, hope you and the family are good. The frustration for me is always we seem to be 1 or 2 players away from really challenging. It's heartbreaking. I know. And there is just no justification for it. It's only procrastination and pig-headedness that are stopping us signing players. This belief, rightly or wrongly, that we can't improve is mind-numbingly dumb to me. João Neves would have been perfect for us. Yeah, but the funny thing is, right, the Premier League clubs are being quoted upwards of 100 mil euro, and they went and got him for like 50 or something. 50 or 60 million euro. It's mad. But yeah, again, another player that we didn't look at. Andre, who we looked at, who could have been gotten for next to nothing again. Not good enough all of a sudden. I don't know anymore. I don't know because I don't have any faith in the recruitment. How can I? How can any of us have any faith in it when they've done literally nothing other than weaken us? And yet still, somehow, there are people who think this is sensible. Andre was never good enough. Then why do we try to sign him? That's my point, mate. Whether we think he's good enough or not, we did try to sign him. We did. And we couldn't get the deal done because of the timing. The fact their league was still going. They wanted to win the Copa Libertadores. And they wanted to go and play in the Club World Cup. So whatever we say about whether he's good enough or not, we tried to sign him. We only look at players they know won't come. Do you remember Jurgen Klopp's own words? His own words were the only problem about Jude Bellingham was that he wasn't available. And then when he was available, we just let Real Madrid have a free run at him. We want generational talents until they become available, and then we won't pay for them. Because heaven forbid the generational talent realises they're good and asks for game time and a decent wage. Imagine the cheek. Mario said, these owners have a plan. Sell all the assets, sell the club. Doesn't make sense not buy any player with new head coach. It's mind-boggling. Again, I mean, I don't know of any plans for them to sell. I'm not hearing anything of any thoughts of them selling. Their own words themselves said that, but what have they sold recently? They're in expansion mode, to use their own phrase. Arne Slot on if he ever lost it. He said, I wouldn't say I lost it, but sometimes you have frustrations, and 9 out of 10 times in life, and the life of a manager, it comes from refereeing decisions. Welcome to the Premier League, Arne. Because if you thought you were frustrated with refereeing decisions before, wait until you come up against Man City, Arsenal or Spurs and the referees suddenly turn into Stevie Wonder. Then maybe we'll see you lose it. And understandably so, because the PGMOL and Howard Webb's band of merry morons will absolutely test anyone's patience over the course of a campaign. I've just read Chelsea's willing to sell Sterling and he wants to come back to Liverpool. He absolutely 100% doesn't want to come back and is not wanted back at Liverpool. Mainly because he's on £300,000 a week at Chelsea. And he's 30 now, I think. And his best days are behind him. The probably likeliest is Crystal Palace, if they can figure out something on the wages. But no way we should be revisiting Raheem Sterling just because Chelsea want rid of him so they can give Pedro Neto the number 7. I mean, if I'm him, I'm sitting tight in that 300 grand a week contract and telling Todd Bowley to go fuck himself. Dave said, absolutely sickening what's going on at our club. No signings is unforgivable. I would agree with you, mate, but again, there are some people who will say they tried and they just couldn't get it done. Arne Slot, another comment here from the embargoed section, said, my way of doing things is to let the team play in the best possible way and the fans enjoy this team playing. And in that way, where's it gone? In that way, they will hopefully admire it, or I will get a bond with them. Also from Arne Slot, on whether he gets angry, I don't think it was, or he was angry at half time. I don't think it was hard, but I did raise my voice a bit. I'm not losing it in terms of throwing things through a dressing room, but I can be hard and tough on them when I think it's necessary, but I don't think that works every week. So it doesn't look like there's any embargo transfer stories, because we're already starting to get some quotes from the embargoed section, and there's nothing there to suggest there's any transfer news or gossip. So with that in mind, I'm going to go and record the recap of where we're at. It'll be out in the next 20 minutes. If you haven't already, just a reminder that we are live in Liverpool November 15th. If you'd like to come and see us, you can get your tickets in the description of this stream or at the link at the top of the chat, or just search the Hot Water Comedy Club and you'll see us listed there in November. Yeah, look, I'm going to go and enjoy my day off tomorrow, or enjoy as much as I can. I will see you guys on Sunday for the watch along. We'll be live from 3:30. If by some miracle anything happens tomorrow and we do sign a player, I'll jump straight on and record something. But if not, it'll just be the preview that's coming out. So thank you again for your time tonight. Appreciate you all, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Much